Welcome friends, this is Manohar Joshi, Faculty, Department of English, Walchand College of Arts and Science, Solapur, Maharashtra. I am doing a presentation on a poem written by Rabindranath Tagore. The title of the poem is Upagupta, and the poem has been taken from a compulsory English textbook titled Literary Quest, prescribed for BA and BSc third year of Punyashlok Ahilya Devi Holkar, Solapur University, Solapur, Maharashtra. Let's have a brief introduction to the poet, that is Rabindranath Tagore. Tagore was born in the year 1861 in West Bengal. He was a multifaceted personality. We know Tagore had different dimensions to his personality. He was a poet, a dramatist, a story writer, an educationist, and a novelist. To top it all, he was a man who loved India a lot. He was a true patriot. Tagore primarily wrote in Bengali, which happened to be his mother tongue. He translated a lot of his works into English, which is often called self-translation. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in the year 1913, and we know that to date he is the only Indian writer to have been decorated with Nobel Prize for Literature. Tagore passed away in the year 1941, 6 years before India attained independence. Let's have a look at the text of the poem titled Upagupta. Upagupta, the disciple of Buddha, lay asleep in the dust by the city wall of Mathura. Lamps were all out, doors were all shut, and stars were all hidden by the murky sky of August. Whose feet were those tinkling with anklets, touching his breast of a sudden? He woke up, startled, and a light from a woman's lamp fell on his forgiving eyes. It was the dancing girl, starred with jewels, wearing a pale blue mantle, drunk with the wine of her youth. She lowered her lamp and saw the young face, austerely beautiful. "Forgive me, young ascetic," said the woman. "Graciously come to my house. The dusty earth is not fit bed for you." The young ascetic answered, "Woman, go on your way. When the time is ripe, I will come to you." Suddenly the black night showed its teeth in a flash of lightning. The storm growled from the corner of the sky, and the woman trembled in fear of some unknown danger. A year hasn't yet passed. It was evening of a day in April, in spring season. The branches of the wayside trees were full of blossom. Gay notes of a flute came floating in the warm spring air from afar. The citizens had gone to the woods for the festival of flowers. From the mid-sky gazed the full moon on the shadows of the silent town. The young ascetic was walking along the lonely street, while overhead the love-sick koels uttered from the mango branches their sleepless plaint. Upagupta passed through the city gates and stood at the base of the rampart. Was that a woman lying at his feet in the shadow of the mango grove? Struck with black pestilence, her body spotted with sores of smallpox, she had been hurriedly removed from the town to avoid her poisonous contagion. The ascetic sat by her side, took her head on his knees, and moistened her lips with water and smeared her body with sandal balm. "Who are you, merciful one?" asked the woman. "The time at last has come to visit you, and I am here," replied the young ascetic. Dear friends, it's a very beautiful poem by Rabindranath Tagore, which actually narrates the story in the life of Upagupta, one of the disciples of Lord Buddha. Now, this poem Upagupta happens to be a free verse. By free verse, we mean that it is free of meter and rhyme scheme. However, it contains rhythm and different figures of speech used by the poet. It has a set of images and symbols as well. The present poem has two broad divisions. The first division has 23 lines, whereas the second has 27. The poem narrates a couple of events in the life of Upagupta. Now we will have a look at different themes handled by Rabindranath Tagore in this poem. The poem Upagupta deals with human values. The Buddhist principles of self-denial and kindness mark the poem. The poem also presents a conflict between earthly life and asceticism. It also deals with the temporariness of desire and permanence of grace and fellow feelings. So these are some of the thematic concerns that we see in this poem titled Upagupta. Let's have a look at the figures of speech, because the figures of speech play a very important role in concretizing the meaning expressed by the poet in a poem. And these are only the representative figures of speech selected from this poem. First of all, we have an interrogation, and the example can be seen: whose feet were those tinkling with anklets, touching his breast of a sudden? Second example of figure of speech happens to be a type of alliteration which is called consonance, and we know that consonance is a type of alliteration in which a consonant sound is repeated. We can go back to the line that we have just cited, and we can see that t sound is repeated in this particular interrogative line, and it can be seen in the words feet, tinkling, touching, and breast. Now there are certain instances of transferred epithet in this poem as well, and these are the examples. His forgiving eyes. We know that eyes cannot be forgiving. It is the mind of Upagupta that has this quality. The silent town. The town cannot be silent, but it is an indication that all the people having gone to the forest, making the town silent. The lonely street once again happens to be an example of transferred epithet. Another example of the figure of speech used in this poem is exaggeration. It is also called hyperbole, and you can see the dancing girl starred with jewels is an example of exaggeration. Now, sometimes in a narrative poem, we see two different types of narrations. One is called indirect narration, and the other one is called direct narration. And we have certain examples of direct narration in this poem. And one example is cited here. "Forgive me, young ascetic," said the woman. Some more figures of speech for you. You can see personification used more than once by Rabindranath Tagore in this poem. And we can see certain examples as follows. The black night showed its teeth. The storm growled. From the mid-sky gazed the full moon. These are the examples of personification which consists in attributing human characteristic features to something that is not human. Another possibility of a figure of speech in this poem is redundance, and you can see certain examples as follows. The first example is black night. Night is always black, so the intensity of the meaning of night is increased with the help of an adjective black. Black pestilence. Pestilence is a disease, and we know in the course of the poem how the dancing girl suffered from a disease, and that's the reason why she was almost excommunicated by the people in Mathura. Another example is poisonous, contagion. Contagion is always poisonous, but the word is used deliberately to intensify the meaning of the word contagion. So these were the figures of speech that Rabindranath Tagore has employed in this particular poem. Now we can have a look at the imagery used by Rabindranath Tagore. We know that an image is a word or a group of words that creates different types of sensations. It may make an appeal to your visual perception, tactile perception, olfactory perception, gustatory perception, and auditory perception for that matter. You can see a list of some of the select images have been put on this particular slide. The murky sky shows how the sky was dark, and it makes an appeal to our visual perception. Tinkling with anklets, it makes an appeal to the auditory perception. A pale blue mantle once again indicates color. A flash of lightning shows brilliance. The storm growled makes an appeal to your ears. Gay notes of a flute once again is an auditory image used by the poet here. Warm spring air, that makes an appeal to your tactile perception. The silent town once again makes an appeal to your auditory perception. There is actually no sound when we use the word silent, but sometimes silence is also heard. The lovesick koals, once again, this is an image used by the poet which indicates quality. And the last one is black pestilence, indicating the intensity of the disease that the dancing girl suffered from. Dear friends, this poem also has a set of symbols employed by Rabindranath Tagore, and the images used by the poet and the symbols employed by the poet concretize the meaning in a poem in a very wonderful and effective manner altogether. Now these are the representative symbols that I have culled from this poem. The first symbol is of course that of Lord Buddha, who we know established Buddhism. He was a prophet, and Lord Buddha represents different qualities, different human values like peace, truth, kindness, self-denial. It's followed by young ascetic. We know that Upagupta happened to be one of the disciples of Lord Buddha, and he followed his spiritual mentor as a follower of Lord Buddha. And you can see how young ascetic in this poem represents different principles laid down by Lord Buddha. Dancing girl once again is a symbol that is used by the poet, which stands for earthly life of desires and pleasures. August is once again a symbol employed by the poet, and August, as far as Indian situation is concerned, happens to be a month in the rainy season, and which may stand for the time of temptation. Anklets is also a symbol, and it stands for the sounds of seduction. Black night is once again a symbol used by the poet that represents peril, that is danger, and pestilence, that is the contagious disease that the dancing girl suffered from. April once again is a symbol used by the poet that stands for regeneration. Black pestilence indicates permanence of decay. So these are the symbols that a reader may look at in order to find out the meaning in this particular poem called Upagupta. Friends, after having seen the themes, the figures of speech, the imagery, and the symbols employed by Rabindranath Tagore in this poem, now we will have a look at the meaning of the poem. As I have already told you, The present poem has two divisions. The first division of the poem consists of an interaction between the young ascetic, that is Upagupta, and a dancing girl from Mathura. It also possesses the invitation given by the young dancing girl to Upagupta and the manner in which Upagupta humbly declined the invitation of the girl. The second division of the poem, on the other hand, takes us to a very different situation in the life of both the dancing girl and Upagupta. Rabindranath Tagore makes the beginning of the poem by referring to Upagupta as one of the disciples of Lord Buddha. We are shown that Upagupta was lying asleep in the dust by the city wall of Mathura. The lamps at that time were all out, the doors were all shut, and the stars were all hidden by the murky sky of August. We are told by the poet that it was rainy season, there were clouds in the sky, and even the stars in the sky were hidden by the clouds. So there was hardly any light around, and Upagupta was lying in the dust. Suddenly he heard the melodious sound of the anklets of a girl standing by his side. And Rabindranath Tagore describes this particular scene in a very wonderful manner. Whose feet were those tinkling with anklets, touching his breast of a sudden? He woke up startled, and a light from a woman's lamp fell on his forgiving eyes. It was the dancing girl, starred with jewels, wearing a pale blue mantle, drunk with the wine of her youth. Now we are told by the poet that the dancing girl was very beautiful. She stood by the side of the ascetic who was lying in the dust. She saw the austerely beautiful face of the young ascetic, that is Upagupta, and she was tempted by the austere beauty of the young ascetic, and thus she gave an invitation to Upagupta. If you see the words of the poet and the interaction between the dancing girl and Upagupta, we come to know. Forgive me, young ascetic, said the woman. Graciously come to my house. The dusty earth is not fit bed for you. So the young dancing girl gave an invitation to Upagupta to come to her house and enjoy the earthly pleasures, as the earth, the dust, were not the fit place for him. The young ascetic answered, Woman, go on your way. When the time is ripe, I will come to you. Now we are told by the poet that it was not an ordinary person, but an ascetic. Upagupta humbly declined the invitation given to him by the young dancing girl, and he promised that when the right time cropped up, he would be there to help her. And we can see the further description given by the poet. Suddenly the black night showed its teeth in a flash of lightning. The storm growled from the corner of the sky, and the woman trembled in fear of some unknown danger. A kind of foreshadowing has been done by the poet here. The first division of the poem comes to an end with the promise given by the young ascetic, that is Upagupta, to the dancing girl that he would turn up in her life at the right time. And this happens to be the conclusion of the first division in this poem. After having seen the meaning of the first division of this poem, now we come to the second division. The poet tells us that only a few months had passed by since the first interaction between the dancing girl and Upagupta, the young ascetic, took place. The second division begins in this particular way. A year has not yet passed. It was evening of a day in April, in spring season. So, in the second half of this poem, the temporal setting is April and it is spring season in this part of the world. And we know the atmosphere, the air during spring season is very pleasant and jocund. The poem further goes, the branches of the wayside trees were full of blossom. Gay notes of a flute came fluting in the warm spring air from afar. The citizens had gone to the woods for the festival of flowers. After having depicted the natural surroundings during this spring season, the poet tells us that all the citizens of Mathura had gone to the woods, to the forest, for celebration of the festival of flowers. However, there was an exception here that we have to look at, and we can turn back to the poem. From the mid sky gazed the full moon on the shadows of the silent town. The young ascetic was walking along the lonely street, while overhead the lovesick koels uttered from the mango branches their sleepless plaint. We are told by the poet that although all the citizens of Mathura had gone to the forest for festivities and celebrations, the young ascetic, that is Upagupta, was walking in the streets of Mathura. And here we will see the second interaction between Upagupta, the young ascetic, and the dancing girl. Upagupta passed through the city gates and stood at the base of the rampart. Was that a woman lying at his feet in the shadow of the mango grove? So Upagupta came across a woman who was lying in the dust just outside the ramparts of the city of Mathura. And the poem further goes, struck with black pestilence, her body spotted with sores of smallpox, she had been hurriedly removed from the town to avoid her poisonous contagion. Now we can see a very bitter fact of human life, how the young and beautiful dancing girl was excommunicated by all the people of Mathura only because she had caught the black pestilence, that is, a contagious disease called smallpox. So the world had turned her out of its life and she was lying in the dust, high and dry. And the poem further goes, the ascetic sat by her side, took her head on his knees, and moistened her lips with water and smeared her body with sandal balm. Now we can see the importance of the promise that was made by Upagupta to the dancing girl who had given him the temptation of earthly pleasure, and how the promise was kept up by Upagupta. So Upagupta turned up in the life of the dancing girl when she needed the help and succor of her brothers and sisters. And the poem further goes, there is a piece of dialogue at the end of the poem between Upagupta and the dancing girl. Who are you, merciful one? Asked the woman. And you can see how Upagupta gave a reply to the dancing girl. And he said, the time at last has come to visit you, and I am here, replied the young ascetic. So, the young ascetic, that is Upagupta, had declined the invitation given by the young and beautiful dancing girl of Mathura, but he had made a promise that he would help her in her times of distress, and he kept his promise, and he went to the rescue of the dancing girl when the entire world had left her high and dry. Upagupta ran to the rescue of the sick and ailing dancing girl, and he moistened the lips, satisfied her thirst, and he balmed her sick body with sandal ointment. Friends, after having seen the meaning of the poem, we come to the conclusion part. We see that Upagupta by Rabindranath Tagore conveys a message that the earthly pleasures are short lived and temporary, and on the other hand, the human values like kindness, fellow feeling, compassion, and benevolence are permanent. The poem also shows two different ways of life. Number one, the ascetic, that is represented by Upagupta, the disciple of Lord Buddha. And number two, the earthly, which is represented by the dancing girl in this poem. Thank you, friends. You can have my contact details as they are furnished on this slide. Thanks again and goodbye.